everyone. I'm very glad to be here. I won't have so much time, so I will dive directly. I'm going to talk about Nuxt to the edge and what it means. I'm at Nuxt, also known as Sebastien Chopin, which is my real name. I am CEO at Nuxt Labs, and we do multiple things such as consulting and audit. It's also good if you want to migrate from Nuxt 2 to Nuxt 3. We also developed Volta, which is an open source project management built on top of GitHub, and helped us develop Nuxt 3 and make it a stable version. And recently, Nuxt Studio, if using Nuxt and Nuxt content with Live Edition. Nuxt is a web framework to create full-stack Vue application. So the question you asked to Daniel about the full-stack experience is definitely on our roadmap, but we had to stabilize the framework, make it a good framework for front-end development before diving into the full-stack experience. We also have many features. In case you don't know Nuxt, we have server-side rendering, client-side rendering, static-side generation, edge-side rendering, hooks system, file system router, auto import if you're lazy like me, data fetching, middleware, plugins, layouts, transitions, server API, TypeScript, state management. We have a default state management, but obviously you can use Pinia or Vuex. We have the island component, which is experimental, but very promising regarding the server component. The layer system, I don't know if some of you have used layers internally. Few people. Basically, it's a Nuxt app that you can push on NPM and you can extend. We have preprocessor for stylets, SAS, the module ecosystem, SEO helper, testing, post-CSS, and many other features that I won't show you today. The edge, who are already deployed to the edge? 1, 2, okay, 5 people out of 10 people. It's a limited environment, and it's running on CDN nodes. It's been pushed by Cloudflare workers a few years ago. And basically, when you deploy your code, it's replicated on the network. Here, it's Cloudflare network, and there are about 200 nodes. It renders quickly your code, and it's very cheap to host. It runs in milliseconds from your end user whenever they are in the world. You have 0 millisecond cold start, no server to maintain, it's scaled automatically, and it's affordable compared to, it's not a scam, but the serverless Lambda, which can cost you a lot of money. Here we're talking about 50 cents per million of requests, and they have a free tier for 100,000 requests per month. But Cloudflare Worker is not the only one. Today we have Dino deploy, Lagon.app, which is open source as well. I highly recommend you to check out Vercel Edge function based on Cloudflare, Netlify Edge function, Edge.io, StackPath, and many more are coming. But it has a limitation. It's different than Node and browser. It's mostly using the V8 engine to analyze your JavaScript code. Like 6 years ago, you could not use Windows on Node, and you cannot use the file system in the browser. When you were working on plugins, it was a hard experience, but today people are more used to create universal JavaScript plugins. It's similar for the Edge runtime. You have more limitation, but you have more advantage. It's a trade-off. And right now, the total size is limited to 5 megabytes. But thanks to Nitro and Nuxt, we mock and polyfill most of the Node and browser environment we can do for production with Unenv, part of the NGS community. And we produce and optimize output, like I say, about 3 megabytes for the total bundle. We also see database coming to the edge, based mostly on replicas and HTTP proxy. SQLite from Cloudflare D1 and the recent one, Turso. Postgre with Neon. Vercel Postgre is based on Neon. You have Supabase, even though they offer more than just Postgre. MySQL with PlanetScale. HarperDB for a hybrid approach. KV with Upstash based on Redis and Cloudflare key value storage. And I'm going to deep dive because we don't have too much time, trying to make a live demo for you. It's not as impressive as making Nuxt live. I'm jealous of Daniel, but what I've done is I have a simple Nuxt 3 project. Can everyone see the screen, or should I zoom? OK. And I have a Nuxt space layer, which is basically an NPM package. And it's a simple Nuxt application. So I added some utilities, such as use server session, and some server utilities I can use on my routes. And it provides me a SQLite database in development, and I can use Drizzle to specify tables. So let's enable it. Run the server. What it will do, it will automatically create a table, a Drizzle config, telling me that I can Drizzle kit, generate SQLite for my migration. And let's see how it looks like. So what I want to do is, I have my page. This is not easy to live code on that. Coffee or tea. I don't know about the English people if you really prefer tea or coffee. So let's make a small demo with this. CSS is boring, I'm sorry, but I will have vote coffee. That's not coffee, but that will work. And we'll have tea here. 2 buttons. Let's make it like this. I usually code faster, don't worry. And let's make our button a bit nicer. P4, border, rounded. If you think it can be nicer, don't hesitate to shout a Tailwind class on stage. OK. But in order to vote, I will need people to log in, because I don't want anyone to vote easily. So what I'm going to do is first have my vote function with, thank you, my choice. This is Copilot, by the way. Otherwise, I don't know how to code. I'm going to create my votes table. So in order to do this, I'm exporting votes table, SQLite. Let's name it votes. It has an ID, which is an integer. I need to give the column name, which is similar, and primary key. Then what I want to have is the user ID. It's also an integer. No, integer. User ID. And it's not null. Next, I will need the username. Not null as well. And the final choice, which is also a text, not null. One thing I want to precise on my table is I can only vote once. So for this, I'm going to create an index. So I'm getting this vote table here, and I can return my indexes. So user ID index. I should have this unique index here. Unique. It's a bit boring. I'm sorry about this, but we are getting close. And on votes.userID. That's nice. So let's create an API route. If you use this Nuxt extension, you can create a new API route directly. Let's call it vote.get. By adding this .get suffix, I'm only limiting to the GET request. So I should be able to return useDB. And I have access to select dot. So next space layer will automatically add me this table object, and I can see my vote table, which is typed. I will order by this tables.vote.id because I want the last one first, and return all. I will need to import desk. I will find a way to import this, but not right now. Like I say, I'm lazy. So I'm going to use the Nuxt DevTools. We have I don't know if you have seen a server route tab. So if I click here, it's similar to Postman, and I can directly call my API. So it says no database found. So what I need to do is every time I change server DB table, I need to run this query. So it created the migration, restarting my server, and I can get the votes. Nice, but I still need to be able to vote. So I'm going to create a post request. Let's make it async. I'm getting the body at first. Wait, read body. Const. Let's get the choice like this, body or empty, and let's make some verification because I don't know here if everyone will play the game by just clicking or making API requests. Yeah, I saw you. So if it doesn't include, return. So in Nitro, we have this H3. H3 is the HTTP server we have under the hood, which is blazing fast, and we have everything that is auto-imported. Thanks to TypeScript, we can have everything. Bad choice, choose between coffee or tea. So let's make our post request now. Body, send it, choice, tea. OK, it works. What we want to have now is authentication. So in order to add authentication, I'm going to create an out.get request endpoint. And for this, I will say GitHub user equal await. It's a magic method. In order to work, this comes from the layer. I simply need to create an OAuth application and add this environment variable in my .env. And then I can send back my GitHub user. GitHub user like this. Going back to Vue, the most interesting part. I can say use user session. Inside, I will have a logged in and user and clear. So clear is a method to remove the to log out the users. What I can do is here. All right. No, come on. So if I'm logged in, I will say welcome user.login, because it's an object from GitHub. And I will have a button that's clear. Let's make it underline to log out the user. Otherwise, let's call API/out, login with GitHub to vote. Some CSS. OK, so what happened now when I click on API out? I'm still on /API/out. I've been redirected from GitHub. I have the code here. 5 minutes. All right. So it's disturbing. Going back to the out route, what I want to have if this is from the library, but if I don't have any GitHub user, it means I've been redirected to GitHub. The first time I hit that route, then it redirects me to this route. I have my GitHub user. I'm going to set the user session by giving the GitHub user and return send redirect to the home page. Obviously, if I refresh bad verification code, I don't mind. Let's try again on this. Login. Then I do have my user. If I take a look at my application, the value of the cookie is actually sealed, encrypted, and this is why we do have this environment variable to unseal the session on the server side. But it actually has everything I set inside this object. So what I need to do here is I want to make sure that it cannot vote if it's not authenticated. So I can get the session by making require user session. And now what I want is actually saving the vote in my database. So const vote use db dot insert table vote dot value. So I get user ID, which is my session.user.id, username session.user.login, and the choice. I want it to return the object when inserting the row and getting back to me. And then I can send back the vote. Let's see how it looks like. Choice, coffee. Okay, if I try to save it again, I'm getting this unique constraint error because it cannot save of this unique index. I need to use this onConflict do update. So the target is actually the user ID. And I want to set the choice. Let's try again. It doesn't create any new entry, but it's updating my information on the table, on the entry, and I can have my list of votes. That looks all right for the API side. Let's list the vote now. So I'm getting the vote, refresh, from useFetch. I'm going to use useFetch because when you do server-side rendering, and you want to get the data from a page, useFetch will do it during the server side, store the data in the payload. So during hydration, we don't make any API call, but directly get it from the payload injected in the HTML, saving one HTTP request. So here, let's display our vote. Yeah, that'll do the work. By username. I prefer emoji though. Emoji. Okay. I do have my vote, so now what I want to do is to vote. We did it with the dev tool, so what I'm going to do here, I don't need to use fetch because it's an action which is done on client side. I can call vote. It's a post request, and the body, I don't need to JSON stringify because $fetch will do it for me. And once it's done, I will simply refresh. That will make the API call again, update this reactive value, and it's now reactive. What I want before pushing my demo is to have the total of vote, because otherwise it's quite useless. I will first have the user choice. Let's say it works, user ID, const total coffee. Thank you. And total tea. Let's display them here, total coffee, total tea. Okay. And lastly, because I'm picky, I would like to have PG to give a nice user experience. So you know what you have selected without looking at the activity. Does that work? Class user choice, vote.userid, user.value.id. Yeah, 1 minute. Let's say it's fine for this. Unmounted. Let's pretend we have a socket connection, but not like this. Set interval. Normally, you should keep the interval, clear it when you unmount, but let's say I don't have time right now. Push time. So on Cloudflare, I linked this GitHub account that I just pushed right now. It's going to deploy. On my settings, I created a D1 database that I linked here. I don't have any tables right now, so what I can do is use the console, go in my migration, take this first statement. Later, I think of a way to automate this, but so far, that's the only way. Migration are a pain anyway, so it's not that bad to do it manually. So I have my vote table. Going back to that deployment. Potentially, I can keep that during the Q&A. Don't know about the time. What I can do is show you another demo I've done using Cloudflare KV. The code is open source as well. You can edit this page. It will automatically save on Cloudflare KV. And if you refresh, it automatically have the data. And also had fun to generate this OG image if you change the title. Using Arlan data, we have another demo using to-dos. Upload complete. Refresh. If you want to try to vote, you can go to vue-london.pages.dev, vue-london.pages.dev. I will also try to vote. Because I'm in London, I will say tea. And let's see if some people have time to vote. Yes, it's working. And we can have in our database the votes from you guys. So thank you very much. They have backup, Cloudflare have backup and more, but so far the demo is here. It's open source. I also have other demo that I will link in the README. And thank you very much.